I'm gonna do it this way. Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Living and Loving the DR with Shauna and Nat. How is everybody doing today?
Good morning. We're
Good
good.
morning,
And I
I'm
want
good.
everyone.
How
to,
are you?
I'm great. And I want to welcome Darryl, who's sitting in on the call with us today, who's here to share with us. Well, we're going to all be sharing, actually. Um, Darryl, hi.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm good. I haven't done one of these recordings in a while this way. We're always doing them live. So, um, Darryl and I met last week for coffee. We did a bit of what I call a catch up on our businesses. So much has happened in just 1 year, I think, for all of us, really.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
yeah. And so I want to, before we dive into some of that conversation, share with the people who are listening maybe a bit about who we are, because not everybody knows us. I mean, people have seen us through some of the videos, but Shauna, tell everybody, like, how long have you been in the DR? What brought you here?
Okay, so I've been in the Dominican Republic since June of 2022. What brought me
Mm,
to the DR, I wasn't one of those people that wanted to get out of Canada. This was something I've wanted to do since a little girl. Growing up, I spent my summers in Costume Bar and we had a condo over there. So I always knew that I wanted to be a part of the island. I didn't think it would happen this soon. I think seeing everybody doing it and seeing I always knew it was possible, but I just didn't have the fire in me to do it. And then when I saw the amount of people doing it at that moment, I said, you know what, I'm going to jump on this wagon and I'm going to get there too. And then, like I said, we were here on vacation. I told my husband we were moving here. He was like, I don't think so. And then we went home, and 3 months later, we were here. So it's just, it, and that's the thing. I didn't sit on the topic. Like, if you sit and ponder it, I find you won't do it. Like, we literally just said, you know what, we're doing it. And then over the period of those 3, 4 months, we got rid of everything. We sold everything. We got things in barrels. But yet I think if I would have took a year to decide, or a year and a half, I probably wouldn't be sitting here today, because it does take a lot of courage to do what the three of us did. It really
ab-
does.
absolutely, absolutely. And Darryl, how long have you guys been here, and what brought you to land in this island?
Well, before I get into that, I just want to touch on something Shauna said there, where she said if she just didn't just do it, and that's how life is. Sometimes I want to just reiterate that sometimes we take too long to make a decision and we don't jump on it, right? And sometimes we just got to start and go. And there's going to be ups and downs, failures, and this and that, but just do it. Like, if you have something, and that's what this journey's been about for our family, everything. It was, obviously I was one of the families that wanted to get out of Canada, but it was something that we wanted to do for years as well. It was just everything that was going on in Canada kind of pushed it to the forefront and said, okay, let's do it now. Right.
Yeah.
We were looking at retiring early at 55. We were on pace for 53. Like, the earlier the better. If I can make it down to 50, if I could have made it down to 50, I was making it down to 50 and retire and leave. And so it was just work. I was a workaholic, and it was just bank, bank, bank. Obviously, we had our fun, we had our trips, we did this, but I want to retire early and enjoy life, right? And then
Mm.
with COVID and everything and all, the political nonsense going on and everything, everybody fighting, I was like, I want to change. I need a change. I can't live this life that I'm living. Um, and with the whole COVID shutdown, when we shut down, I realized there was a disconnect in my family. And I was like, what point is it if I'm gonna work, 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 but at the end of the day, I have no family?
Mm.
And so this was an opportunity for just to reset and refocus our lives. And so that was kind of the what brought us to the Dominican Republic. Now, Dominican Republic was not on my radar, not unlike Shauna. Shauna had been here lots of times. I'd never stepped foot on the island until I got
Wow.
here, right?
Yeah.
But I did do a lot of research. I did do a lot of homework, right? Because I wanted to make sure, one, safety was a major concern, schools were a major concern, and am I gonna be able to sustain a living there? It was the third major
Oh,
concern, right?
wow.
So
Yeah, so you've been here almost 2 years now.
yeah, going on 2 years, 20 months now.
Yeah.
We this week is 20 months. January will be 2 years, and
Yeah.
it's had some amazing moments. It's had some not so amazing moments. It's had moments where, and we'll get into that, but we'll get like into some of that.
Yeah. And for us too, it was not because of COVID. It was, I think life, we were at a fork and we had to choose whether we adventure or we just kind of stay on this track. And we had already identified that, the school system was preparing our daughter for, sort of that factory worker schedule. These, being inside all the time.
Yeah.
And we had just sort of we saw HGTV and we were at the fork. And I said to my husband, why don't we just do this? We had talked about moving to the Middle East before our daughter was born, and we didn't do it because obviously she was born. But now she was at an age where we could travel. We could do this. And a lot of my friends and family were shocked. They weren't surprised, but they were shocked that we were just like you, Shauna. From
Yeah.
the day we decided to do it to the day that we got on the plane, it was exactly 3 months. So within a month, our house was sold. Within 2 months, I had sold most of our belongings. And by the third month, I'd packed the whole house and we'd moved it out. So everybody has a unique situation and a unique path. There's not one path that's the same here. Like
Yeah.
when we meet people, right?
Yeah.
What would be like, this question goes to both of you, but what would be your top piece of like advice for anybody who's thinking of doing this? Like if they're thinking of doing something, whether it be the DR or another country, what is like maybe the one first thing they need to do or consider? Shauna?
Well, for me, honestly, I think they need a source of income. I'm seeing a lot of
Okay,
people,
yeah.
to me, that's the most important thing. If you have a source of income, definitely think about it, okay? But if you're going to come here and think that you're going to make the same money that you're making back home in North America, it's not like that here. Like, one thing I will say is that the average wage here is like $10 US a day. And that's not a lot. And
Day.
that's wages that we're not used to. And, unless you're coming here to start a business or you have like income coming in, I will let you know if you don't, you will struggle. I've seen people come here, they didn't have much money thinking they were going to find a job. They find a job, but that job is just basically going to pay their groceries every month. It's not going to pay their utility bills, not going to pay their rent or their car payment. It's not the same. So I think to me, the most important thing is that you have at least a salary of some sort, or you have a couple $100,000 or even 50. You have to have money
Something. You have
because
to have something. And
you have to
and
have
to
something.
me, what goes along with that is like you need to lower your expectations of what is possible here,
Yeah.
because I think that what is put out there and what's reality are two different things. We came here for simplicity of life, so we've actually downgraded all of our living since we've been here, and not in a bad way, just because you realize you spend 95% of your time outside. You don't need, anyways, in my opinion, you don't need a 5-bedroom house if there's only 3 of you.
No.
That's all that would be my for the Darryl. What do you think? What do you think is the one thing people need to consider?
I definitely agree with that point that Shauna brought up. Income is a huge detractor for people that come here. Once they get here and realize that, you're thinking people are thinking they're coming to a third world country, but they're actually coming to a very developing country. But there is a lot of poverty still in this country, and it's going to
Yeah.
be several years before that changes. And therefore, like you said, it's hard to find it. You can't just go and, I'm a construction worker, I'm going to come down here and build houses. You're not going to get paid to build a house because they can pay somebody else. Like you said, like I think the guys who built my house were making 25 bucks a day, right?
Oh, wow.
Back
And
home,
that's a
that's not
lot.
even,
That's more than the average.
yeah, back home, that's not even an hour's work for a construction worker,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so you have the mindset that what I suggest to people is, if you're going to come down, you're going to try the entrepreneurial path and start a business and start that, have a backup plan as well. Like if you're coming down as a married couple, one of you has an online job that can sustain your
Mhm.
life here while you build up that business, because it's tough. Like it really is. And I do real estate, But there was a point where I almost went back to Canada for this past summer to work, right? And I knew things were moving in the right direction. Everything was moving in the right direction because I'd been doing what I needed to do to succeed in real estate. It's just I hadn't got to that point where I was like, okay, I'm comfortable. I still gotta pay Eli's school next year. I gotta pay for health insurance. I gotta pay for
Yeah,
this. I gotta pay, right? And it's like, man, if things, I'm gonna have to go home. And thank God things really started to
turned
pan
around.
out
Yeah.
and turned
And I
around.
think that's what we've all had this conversation. I mean, I've said it to both of you, is where I was last year compared to this year is like a completely different place. The DR has shown me so many opportunities, and
Yeah.
not just here, but I'm ending up going back to Canada to teach and do the thing that I love. So I get to do it in two different countries. And then my husband, the baker, who we didn't know, now sells these delicious cinnamon rolls that, now there's a what is the word I want to use? There's a demand for them, So it's a smaller source of income for us, but it's like that weekly thing that people love, gives us a little money on the side, and pays for our smaller expenses every week. So when the money from our other jobs comes in, well, that has another place to go. But I think I want to circle back, Shauna, to what you were saying, and that it's really important to have that job. And what we do have down here is a great community. There is a great community of people um, helping one another out. I would say you also have to do your homework. Make sure that if you're going to come down, and you're in the real estate business, Darryl, so you can tell us otherwise. But I think it's important to come down and try the different areas out. Maybe rent before you decide to buy, so you can really find out where you feel the best. Am I on point?
Yes and no. I agree. I agree with what you're saying. I do. And then at the same time, I'm like, it depends on everybody's situation, right? Like I know some people came
Yeah.
down and rented for 1 year. Some people came down and rented for 2 years. For me, I was in the mindset I need to buy right away because I'm only coming down here with so much money. And
Mm,
if I'm gonna just blow it for the next 3 years and fail and have to go back to Canada, I want to go back to Canada with something. So I was in the mindset I want to buy quick, right? But
that's
that being
fair.
said, that being said, don't just come and buy, right? Don't
Yeah.
do your due diligence. Make sure you're in an area. Like if you're one of those people that are going to come down and you're going to buy right away, don't just say, oh, this is a good deal over here. Because let me tell you, not all good deals are good deals, right? And you might hate the area you're in. You might, so you got to do your due diligence and know where to, and that's where the whole come down rent in a few different areas fits in, because then you get to learn what areas you like, what areas you don't like. So I agree, and you know what I mean? I agree with what you're saying, but it all depends on the person's situation and what they're looking to do, right? Like someone who has a retiree who, has, small income, pension income, right? They might not be able to afford to rent a place for 2 years and figure that out, right? But still make sure you do your due diligence that you're picking a place that, just don't come
Works for
down and
you.
don't
Shauna,
come
what
down
did you
and
want
say,
to add in there?
I agree and I disagree with you in the sense that I do think you should not buy or rent sight unseen. And I see so much of that happening. And so many, especially since Natalie and I, just so you all know, Natalie and I recently started this North Coast networking group. And so we're meeting a lot of people. Like I have met hundreds of people through doing, like, it's just been
Yeah.
mind-boggling. And the one thing that everybody says is they wish they would have rented or even flew down for a week to see
Yeah.
the houses in person. If you're going to invest a couple $100,000, invest in a plane ticket, fly down. Real estate agent like Darryl, who is wonderful, will put you up somewhere that you're paying minimal. We're not asking you to come here and spend all your money in a week. We're just asking you to come and see it yourself. Because
Yeah.
I'll tell you, I've heard a lot of people very disappointed. There are several people I know right now love their homes, but don't love their community. And they said they
Mm.
knew when they arrived, this wasn't the community they wanted to be in. But when seeing the house, they only saw the house. The community was, and I think maybe, you know, there is a community everywhere. I mean, I'm blessed in my community, but there are some communities people don't get along. They may not like your dog. They may not like this about you. They may not. And so if you're investing a lot of money and you're in a foreign country, you want to live beside someone that you're happy with, or you want to live in an area, right?
Point made. Absolutely.
Yes,
I couldn't
absolutely.
agree more. You know, I met a nice couple yesterday who, unfortunately, actually, we brought them here to Marabella just to see a couple places. And, you know, they got here and they said to me, "Oh, Natalie, I wish we would have seen your videos before because we would have called you." And, you know, the creating the whole relocation concept, concierge concept was just about helping people kind of navigate through some of this stuff so that they can meet the right people, network with the right people, get some guidance, find out where they can buy fruit and veggies at a good price. Or you know, where all those little tips and tricks that we all know because we're here. And those are part of some of the lessons that we have, you know, we have to learn. You know, opening a bank account can be tedious sometimes. I know I shed a few tears over that freaking button I didn't push in the right way, you know? And if it can just be just that. Um, so we definitely the work, you have to have a job when you come down. You need to explore the different communities. You have to know where you're staying because there are places, in my opinion, that I don't belong in. You know, there are areas that what I would call like Dominican areas. I feel like the North American or the Europeans, we take up a lot of space already. So everybody is entitled to have their, you know, their own space. Um, but in saying that, doesn't mean that you can't go explore those communities because they have a lot of richness and a lot of resources that can
And
benefit
yet there
us.
are people that want to live in those communities. I know people
Yeah,
that want to really embrace the Dominican culture and are moving to like like we are all in a tourist town. You know, we're all in a
yeah,
tourist area, but you continue Cabaret East and keep like driving towards Veragua or Callejon. I mean,
yeah.
sorry, Sabaneta, you know,
Sabaneta, yeah.
there are some beautiful homes there, you know, it really
And,
depends on the person. It
yeah.
really depends on the person. Yeah.
Absolutely.
No.
What are some of the other hardships that people maybe need to avoid? I think this is it's a good time to bring it up because people really want to avoid them. They don't want to have the hardships.
Um,
What are your biggest ones, Darryl?
well, I would say the biggest ones are kind of what you guys talked about, people buying sight unseen, never buy sight unseen, right? Now it's a different story if you came down here a few times, you built a really good relationship with the person who's going to be your realtor, and you're like, okay, you know what? I need to be in Sasua Ocean Village, right? And stuff like that. But yeah, definitely do not come down. Do not buy without seeing, right? You have to see, you have to come down, you have to explore, you have to visit. Like, you know, I don't think I've sold one site unseen yet, but people have, and
Oh,
everybody
lots
I
of
hear about it, I hear about it. It's a regret afterwards, right? So you definitely don't want to do that. Shauna's completely right with that. But I would say on my side, it's about, you know, I hate hearing the stories of even the people that bought and thought they were getting something else than they actually were. And it's really knowing, doing the homework, right? Like we have a client right now because we're doing the property management now as well, right? And you know, they got sold a property where they were told they were going to make X amount of dollars a month, and their best month in a year is less than half of what they were told they were going to get on a monthly basis, right? And we just took
Wow.
over the property, and the owner is really great. The owner is working with us because he wants it to succeed. But I think at this point he knows it's not going to be what he was told it was going to be. And
Mm,
so just really if the number seems too good to be true, it's probably too good to be true.
It's true, yeah. And I
Yeah.
think people need to do their research too on who, like
Yeah.
you said, they're doing business with. One thing that I can say is we highly recommend Darryl. You know what I mean?
Thank you, Shauna.
Um, no,
We
we
do, we
do
do.
because you're authentic, you're real. You know, there's some people they just want the sale, you know, and it can't work that way. It really can't. You know, you need to be completely transparent with your clients. And one thing I will say is that we've always heard you're very transparent with your clients. And so this is why we appreciate and want it. That's why I promote you. You know what I mean?
Thank
Like I've
you.
heard
Thank
good
you.
things. So for me, you know, that's my credibility too, you know, like if I'm promoting someone that is
Absolutely.
not doing their due diligence and that is basically screwing people over, well, then what does that do for my character, you know? So
Absolutely.
it's important that we stay real and we stay raw because it's not always paradise here. It really is, you know, like everyday living. The only thing different is that it's hot and it's tropical and the beach is just down the road. But other than that, it's, you know, if you have marriage
It's
problems, your marriage problems are going to follow you here. If you
Yeah.
have financial problems, they're just going to follow you here. So people just need to realize that life doesn't change, just your environment does.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I know that there are people who've come down to try and fix things. And, you know, maybe for some it has worked, for others, it has not as they wanted it to be. But you're right, the challenges remain the same. If he didn't pick up his socks at home in Canada, he probably doesn't pick them up here
Exactly.
either. Just saying.
Exactly.
Are you talking about me? Are you talking about me?
No, I'm not.
See,
You're
I'm
just
just
Um,
looking
talking.
around. There must be socks somewhere.
Actually,
yeah,
you know what?
exactly.
No, I put all my stuff away now. You know what? You get a Dominican dog, and the men learn quick because if not, he's got holes in his shorts, he's got holes in his socks. Everything's in a hamper now.
Exactly. Cool. You know, I feel like there's so much more we could talk about just from all different angles, and maybe this will become a regular thing that we can do together. But I want to sort of wrap it up. What is your last piece of wisdom for today for anybody who's deciding to relocate, or maybe they just want some info? What is your wisdom, Shauna?
Um, I'm going to go back to what I said at the beginning because I think a lot of people ponder on it. If you're going to keep pondering on it, you're going to talk yourself out of it. And you'll never
Okay,
know unless you try. We're not
love
telling
it.
you to sell everything back home. We're telling you to come down. If you want to buy a house or relocation, Natalie can help you with the relocation. Darryl can help you find a house, but come down and meet them in person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Get the feel for the island before you make a big jump. I truly, you know, it's not like I understand when you came, Darryl, you couldn't really come and check it out. It was COVID times, flights weren't, you know what I mean? It was just, but if you would have had the opportunity to fly down for a week, I believe you would have,
I would have.
Yeah.
you know?
Then I
So
would
I
have
think
felt
Yeah.
that
like
to me is very important, is just to really don't ponder on it. You know what I mean? Because the more you ponder on it, the more you're going to talk yourself out of it. That neighbor next door is, remember we talked about the
The
neighbor next door?
neighbor.
The neighbor in your head is going to say, hey, don't do it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and it's not for everyone, but you never know
No.
unless you try. You really don't.
100%. Thank you. Daryl,
You're
what's
welcome.
your piece of wisdom?
Just like I kind of touch on what Shauna said there. Don't have fear, right? Um,
Yeah.
it's fear holds us back from doing things so often. And like you, Natalie, you do teen talk and stuff like that, and you teach kids how to express themselves, how to talk in front of people and stuff like that. But without that, how many of those kids would actually learn those skills to do it and just live in fear and never do it? Because you hear adults
Yeah.
say all the time, I don't know how you do that and get in front of 5 people. Like you get in front of 100 people, and I'm in front of five, and right? We
Yeah.
just, the fear. If we can learn to get over fears and just enjoy life, right?
Mm,
That's one of the keys I
enjoy
think.
life. I love
Yeah.
that. Well, I will say that for myself, this is a go big or go home kind of situation. So that was our saying when I traveled, and I knew that this was going to be big for us. So we went big and we're home. We love it in the DR. So if you have any questions for any of us, please make sure that you message us in the comments. I will leave everybody's contact information in the description. Make sure you like and subscribe like this video, share it and subscribe to the channel. And whatever you choose to do, have an incredible day. And we'll see you soon in the next episode. Bye for now. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.